So hello fellow Earthlings, this is Earthling 6455463728, and before I go into an introduction for who I am, for people who don't know, I just wanted to give the topic that I wanted to talk about today, which is you are the product. That phrase, or the larger phrase, which is if something is free, it means that you are the product. So I'm Earthling, yada yada yada, as I mentioned. And what are my credentials? I have an MBA with a specialty in information systems. I have a computer science degree. I've been programming for more than 20 years. I have a lot of different programs out there in the wild. Real estate programs to gather information on various companies, what they do in terms of accounting, in terms of legal stuff, in terms of retail. Physically, I have been able to change my body into what I want it to be. I've lost more than or around 85 pounds from my highest, and I've been able to keep off the weight for at least 5 years. I have stopped smoking. I exercise regularly every day, so I'm pretty happy with what I see when I look in the mirror when I'm half naked. I've taken a lot of different trips that have been absolutely fantastic. Been to the Grand Canyon, Las Vegas, Tokyo, Japan, Seoul, South Korea, the Czech Republic. I've been in the Louvre in front of the Mona Lisa. I've been in the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I've been in Venice, Caracas, Venezuela. For myself personally, there's almost nothing that I'm afraid of doing in terms of, well, I am, but I mentally prepare myself in terms of repairing like appliances, washing machines, dryers, in terms of repairing vehicles, like CV joints, alternators, radiators. I've replaced the breaker box on my house when it was old, and so I've done a lot of stuff that I'm really proud of, stuff that I guess it's easy to call a guy, but when you've called enough guys, you realize that sometimes it's a lot easier to just do something yourself. So that's me. Anyway, topic that I'm talking about today. Again, it is basically if it's free, as in whatever is free, then you are the product. And people have been using that these days to demonize social media. The thing is that newspapers, they're not free. Well, some of them are actually free. So then in that case, are you the product? Because if you're the product in that case, then what are people complaining about? TV, the major networks in the US and in many countries, that's free. So are you the product? With respect to newspapers, a lot of them could be a lot more expensive than they are. A lot of them are dirt cheap. It's just really to pay for the transportation. And in terms of paying for the reporters and for everything that the reporters need and for printing the newspaper and all that, what you pay does not pay for that normally. That's why a lot of the newspapers were going out of business, as they were competing with other forms of media. Email is free. Pretty much there are a lot of different things that are free. So it's not a recent phenomenon where people have a free or freemium product and they pay for it using advertising. That business model has been around for a very long time. So it's kind of ridiculous to demonize social media for just following the same business model as newspapers. Like I said, many of them are free. I know at least the Miami Herald was free, I think. Was it Miami Times? One of those. Anyway, and like I said, newspapers are, for the most part, are too cheap in terms of what they put out. You probably wouldn't want to pay for a newspaper if you had to pay for all of the things that they need. And yeah, To demonize social media to me is just really, really ridiculous, considering that all these other things have been following that business model of cheap to free in order to provide services as a result of getting advertising money. And if we look at this idea of you're the product, yeah, you've always been the product for people who wanted to advertise their product. How else is someone supposed to bring something that could be very useful to you, to your attention? They pay money. People have to pay money. If you were in business, I'm sure you would want to be able to get people to notice all of the different characteristics of the product or service that you had. And you would want to be able to provide that to as close to the demographic of your customers, your existing customers, or people who you think might be potentially very good customers as possible. So the idea, you are not like feed. You are not feed in terms of, oh, let's feed them to this other person and this other person is going to exploit them. Well, that's no more than people have been doing forever. I'm sure in the Roman Colosseum that there probably were ads for different things. It makes perfect sense that anytime there are large groups of people, wherever those people might be, that people would want to advertise there. So it strikes me as really very silly. I mean, wherever we were gathered, whatever town or village or festival that was going on, people who were making a particular thing, just like, any other place in the world, if there's a parade, whatever, there are going to be people selling t-shirts, there are going to be people who are selling food, people who are selling all sorts of things in order to try to get by. That's why people come to cities, because they may have a skill, or it's a place where you can find a lot of people to potentially make your sales. That's why people that's why they emigrate from one country to another, trying to find areas where there are lots of people already that they can, number one, employ perhaps eventually as workers, and two, that they can use to as people to sell, as customers, as clients. And that's why you have to pay a premium to live in a city. That's why it's going to be more expensive, because there are all these people who are trying to improve their standard of living by increasing their business. I don't think that it's as fruitful as we believe. When someone says they want to go to the first world in order to have a better life, I think that more often than not, most of these people may not end up with a better life. I think they might end up with a worse life, but that's another topic altogether. There is this perception, I guess caused by different articles, for example, that Facebook can manipulate you, and that's what it tries to do. So extra, read all about it. 5 people killed in an explosion. That is not exactly what the newspapers are trying to do. There's lots of different news that is out there, but if it bleeds, it leads. Newspapers, magazines, putting different celebrities on the cover of their magazines, that's not a favor. As a matter of fact, with respect to YouTube, if I put a celebrity's name in the titles for one of my videos, it's likely to do a lot better than if there's no celebrity's name. If you look around, for whatever reason, Chamath Palihapitiya, he's a really popular guy. I don't know why. Maybe it's a certain demographic of people who are eagerly consuming his his information or information about him. But yeah, so newspapers, magazines, television shows, using or movies, they want to hire the person who has had the most attention in terms of been in a very popular movie. And Facebook and well, I can't say WhatsApp per se, but YouTube videos, certainly Twitter, all of these people, all of these social media platforms, they work in the same way as anything else. Number one, Facebook and Twitter, they don't put up stuff. There are people who put up stuff on Facebook, and Facebook is more likely to show you something that has already been popular. Just like newspapers, just like magazines, just like TV shows, just like anything else. So if Facebook has been manipulating people, so has every other form of media you've ever seen. So I think it's really unfair to tar Facebook with that brush of being this especially evil and horrible thing. I think that there was a while ago, there was a study that Facebook, I think, may have done themselves, or maybe somebody else did, where they were trying to, quote unquote, make people happier or change their emotions, and they realized that they succeeded in a particular way. And the thing about it is that while that grabs it makes for an attractive headline that draws in a lot of people. You see, they manipulate people, and this is a little bit more than a newspaper, for example, because Facebook is able to get feedback a lot quicker. They don't have to wait to see how many people buy the paper that day. But I think they were able to succeed in terms of changing somebody's opinion, well, not opinion, but their mood, based on being able to detect a change in their mood by some marker. But the amount that they were able to change a person's mood by, or the group of people that they tested, it's so small as to easily be a mistake on their part, that they made a mistake in terms of how they were reading that people's mood changed. It reminds me of a friend of mine. He sent me an article that suggested that if you removed the box on application forms that said, "Are you a felon? Have you ever been convicted of a crime?" that it would basically, they've done a study that showed it would decrease the rate at which employers would hire minorities. And the whole idea is that minorities have been especially punished in terms of being convicted, in terms of being arrested, in terms of being investigated of crimes, and therefore this was supposed to help minorities by removing this box that said that, "Are you a felon?" that asked. And the study said that if you remove the box, people just automatically stop hiring minorities as much. So it was interesting. I read the whole thing, and at the bottom of it, it said it decreased the amount that people hired minorities by 3 to 5%, something like that. At which point I was like, so who cares? I thought it was 20%. I thought it was 50%. I thought it was 200%. 3 to 5% is ridiculous. That is a mistake. That is within the margin of error of a poll. So the whole point of the article was just ridiculous. And it's the same thing with this Facebook being able to manipulate people. The amount was like 0.000, some kind of ridiculously small figure. So it was just a ridiculous article altogether. And I think it's completely unfair, but also understandably completely natural for people to demonize new technology. And, I wish I could go into this a little bit more, but I think I'll stop here. So feel free to like, share, or subscribe, or comment. in the same way that you like somebody else to do that if this were your piece. Have a good one. Peace.